Good morning, everyone. Hello. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Dear Excellencies, dear guests, dear supporters, dear friends, and most importantly, dear participants. My name is Emilia Bauer, and I am the Deputy Director General of Model European Union Berlin. And it's my great honor to welcome you to our opening ceremony today. Just for those who may not know what Model European Union is by now, it is something where education meets real-world practice. It's a hands-on, interdisciplinary experience, a serious game, if you want to call it that way, designed to bring the workings of the European institutions closer to the youth. Over the course of the next week, our participants from across Europe and beyond will step into the shoes of EU policymakers, bringing the roles to life of ministers, MEPs, lobbyists, journalists. You, my dear participants, will negotiate, you will try to manage crises, there will be challenges for you, and you will engage in decision-making processes that mirror the real EU institutions. And most importantly, you will develop a deep understanding of how the EU functions. Maybe not after the first day, after the last day, you will understand it. But MEU Berlin is also a space where we try to make you understand how the real world functions. It's intercultural exchange for dialogue, building friendships that cross borders and disciplines. It really doesn't matter where you come from, be it biology, law, politics, translation. It really doesn't matter. Your perspective matters here, and you're all welcome. For the next days, Berlin becomes the capital of youth-led democracy. And to begin our journey, we today have a variety of guests who will be joining us here. Ambassadors, politicians, policymakers, and other kinds of supporters. Every one of them shares our belief that meaningful youth engagement is at the heart of a vibrant democracy. And now, absolute pleasure to begin our official opening ceremony with someone who truly made all of this possible. The idea of Model European Union Berlin was born in his head, in his mind, and for the past 9 months, he's poured everything into making it a reality. Vision, dedication, a lot of spreadsheets, late-night planning sessions, and many more things. And as his deputy, it was my absolute pleasure of working with him side by side along this whole journey. And without hesitation, I can say this project would have not been possible without you, Manolis, without your commitment, your dedication, determination, and your belief what the youth can actually make possible. So please welcome our Director General of Model European Union Berlin 2025, Mr. Manolis Matteo.
Thank you. Your Excellencies, esteemed members of the Parliament, distinguished representatives of the diplomatic corps, my dearest organizing team, dear participants and dear friends. It is with great pride and deep gratitude that I welcome you all to the Model European Union Berlin 2025. This event held in the heart of a city that has witnessed the triumphs and the trials of democracy stands as a testament to the enduring strength of European unity, dialogue, equality and cooperation. First and foremost, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to the Mayor of Berlin and his representative today here, State Secretary for School Construction, Digitalization of Schools and Lifelong Learning, Dr. Thorsten Kuchen, for his unwavering support of this initiative and the offer of using this building for our opening ceremony. His commitment to fostering youth engagement in politics and governance is truly commendable. A heartfelt thank also goes to the members of the German Bundestag and the Berlin State Parliament, who have stood by us recognizing the importance of political education and youth participation. Your presence here today is not just symbolic. It is an affirmation of the faith you place in the next generation of leaders. A mention should be given to the State Minister for Europe, Dr. Anna Luchmann, who supported our project from the beginning, but due to her tight schedule, she could not be today with us. But she's attending the event with the video she sent. The same way chose to be part of the event a variety of politicians and members of the European Parliament, and the former Prime Minister of Lithuania, Ingrida Šimonytė. We are delighted to have them with us, even in that way. We are also honored to have received the patronage of the European Parliament and the Polish presidency of the Council of the EU. Their support is a powerful recognition of the significance of MEU Berlin, and it underscores the importance of our work in promoting European values, unity and dialogue among the youth of Europe. A special acknowledgement must be made to the Konrad Adenauer Foundation, whose generosity in providing us with the use of their facilities and more has made this event possible. We deeply appreciate your commitment to democracy and education, as well as to the Munich-based organization Children for a Better World for their very important financial support to that initiative. I would also like to extend my sincere thanks to Hartje School for their invaluable support, as well as to the many embassies that have contributed to making this event a reality. The embassy's participation in this initiative highlights the importance of international cooperation and the shared commitment to fostering understanding between nations. Your involvement, whether through supporting our cause, providing resources, or engaging in diplomatic dialogue within our podcast and in our planning events, has been instrumental to the success of this project. Your contribution makes this event not just a European initiative, but a global one. And for that, we're deeply grateful. A special thanks to the Austrian ambassador and the staff of the Austrian embassy for the opportunity of hosting in his embassy our final reception. However, none of these would have been possible without the dedication, resilience, and countless hours of hard work put in by the organizing team. To my colleagues who have worked tirelessly behind the scenes, navigating logistical challenges, securing funding, promoting the event as public relations team, developing the content, working in social media, in our IT for the website and the application they made, our podcast, and coordinating participants from across Europe, I am truly grateful. Your efforts are the backbone of MEU Berlin, and this event stands as a reflection of your passion and commitment. Of course, I want to give a special mention to my deputy, Emilia Bauer, whose leadership, creativity, and determination have been indispensable throughout this journey. Emilia has been a constant source of inspiration, guiding us with her vision, her unwavering focus, and her ability to find solutions in the face of challenges. Your support has been invaluable, Emilia, and I am deeply thankful for everything you have done. To our participants who have traveled from all corners of Europe and beyond, welcome. You are the reason we are here today. Each of you has chosen to be part of an exercise that challenges you to think critically, debate passionately, and engage deeply with the complexities of the European governance. MEU Berlin is not just a simulation. It is not just a gathering of young people playing the roles of politicians, lobbyists, or journalists. It is a serious intellectual exercise, a platform where ideas are tested, decisions are weighed, and policies are debated. Here, you will experience firsthand the responsibilities that come with governance, the weight of compromise, and the delicate balance between national interest and European unity. This year's Model European Union is focused not only on the internal working of the European Union, but but also on international cooperation, a theme more crucial than ever in today's world. As we face global challenges, whether it be climate change, conflicts, or economic instability, the need for dialogue, diplomacy, and collaboration across borders has never been more pressing. That is why we have extended our discussions to include not only European diplomats, but also international embassies. This is our way of reaffirming that Europe's future cannot be shaped in isolation, but rather through global partnerships and mutual understanding. At MEU Berlin, you will have the unique opportunity to engage with international counterparts, developing a nuanced understanding of how diplomacy works beyond national borders and how cooperation can help us navigate an increasingly interconnected world. I want to take a moment to highlight the crucial role youth plays in international cooperation and in shaping our collective future. Today's young generation is not merely an observer of global affairs, but an active participant, challenging the status quo and proposing new ways to address age-old problems. You are the ones who will carry forward the torch of diplomacy, peace, and understanding. Your ability to look beyond the confines of national identity and work together across cultures is exactly what is needed to ensure a more unified, cooperative, and peaceful world. It is also an honor to speak about the role of women in politics, which is a subject close to our hearts this year. We are particularly proud that more than 50% of our participants in this year's conference are female, reflecting the growing representation of women in the political arena. This is a significant step forward in the ongoing fight for gender equality in governance and leadership. We also have the privilege of hosting a forum in that theme where female leaders will share their experiences, challenges, and strategies for empowering the next generation of women in politics. Gender equality is not an ideal. It is an essential component of a democratic and inclusive Europe. This is my challenge to you. Wherever life takes you, whether in law, politics, media, or business, remember that democracy is not self-sustaining. It requires vigilance, courage, an unwavering commitment to truth and justice. Stand against populism. Stand against any undemocratic voice. Stand for the ideals that have brought us today all here. MEU Berlin is not just about policy debates. It's about preparing a generation that will defend democracy wherever it is threatened, promote dialogue wherever there is division, and work towards a Europe that remains strong, united, and democratic. We need you, the youth of Europe, to continue the work that those who came before us started, and to build a future that we can all be proud of. Verein für Europa, Verein für die Demokratie. Thank you and welcome to Model European Union Berlin.
Thank you, Manolis, for your kind words. Thank you for this very nice introduction. And next we have the honor to welcome our representative of the City of Berlin, representing the governing mayor, State Secretary Dr. Thorsten Kühne. Please.
Thanks a lot. Excellencies, dear distinguished representatives of institutions, dear members of the Deutsche Bundestag and Berliner Abgeordnetenhaus, dear participants and guests. On behalf of our governing mayor of Berlin, Kai Wegner, I welcome you to the Model European Union 2025 here in Berlin, here in our City Hall. And our governing mayor requested me to take over the opening words and to present you his kind wishes for this extraordinary event here in Berlin. It's a pleasure for me to see how many, especially young people and European citizens and people all over the world, are come here to Berlin to attending this extraordinary event full of enthusiasm and passion for the European idea and its institution. That's not normal in these times. I'm impressed by the organization's efforts succeeding to bring so many participants here from all over Europe and all over the world together to this event. I'm delighted to welcome you to Berlin, and I hope you will have a pleasant stay in our great city of Berlin. Berlin is so much a European city in the heart of our united Europe, which represents a globally connected and pluralistic society. Moreover, the city of Berlin is characterized by its openness and its appeal for all people around the world, and especially, I told you, young people. It's home for so many universities and companies welcoming young people and students from all over the world. And Berlin is a place where past and future, European past and European future, is present all over and all day. This city has seen and has written European history at its worst and at its best. Today, Berlin is unsolvable, connected to the European future. We have close relationships with so many cities all over the world and special relationships to so many European cities as Paris, as Madrid, Warsaw, Prague, Kiev, or Rome. Moreover, the state of Berlin, because Berlin is city and state, I guess in Germany it's a little bit complicated, but we are state and city, is actively promoting the European idea and mainstreaming the EU on a political and societal level. And our current Berlin EU strategy has taken place since May last year. So I will detail you some of our goals inside our EU strategy. First goal, Berlin is engaged in European law, procedures, and opinion development processes. For example, the Berlin Synod takes place 2 times a year in Brussels to visiting also members of the European Commission to discuss, to have a dialogue about the European law processes. That's very important for us here in Berlin. Second goal of our strategy, Berlin deepens the information and experience exchange on the EU level. That's not that easy, so we have to make a further strengthen. Third goal, Berlin optimizes the EU fund acquisition and management on the administrative level. And to get some European financial support, it's an important goal for us in Berlin, because perhaps you have written, we have some little financial problems here in Berlin, so the EU refund is for us very important. The fourth goal, Berlin strengthens the EU competences of the Berlin administration. So that means also the learning of languages, but also the exchange on the administrative levels between Berlin and other European cities. The fifth goal is Berlin invests in the international, that means European cross-border cooperation, for example, to build railways connections to Poland or other neighbor countries here in Europe. The infrastructure is also a very important goal for us in Berlin. And the sixth goal is Berlin engages in and includes the diverse society in its EU public relations and information activities. But I told you Berlin is a European city. So our strategy contains several objectives, as I told you, to bring Europe closer to our citizens of Berlin and to engage the city more proactively on the EU level. And as the General Secretary, General Director told, we are in fraughting times. So regarding the current geopolitical situation, it is more important than ever that we promote international and intercultural dialogue. Let me be very clear. Isolation, conflicts, or so-called deals is not our future. No, our future is the partnership, the respect, and the exchange. That's our answer in these times. So we must strengthen Europe as cultural, economic, and political partner, especially by its regions, by its cities, and by its communities, as such as we in Berlin. The European Union needs proud citizens and especially young people who are inspired by our European democracy and the European idea. Hence, it's a positive sign that so many young people here in our city town hall in Berlin, committed people, are coming together today and for the next few days under this pretext. The European Union is characterized by complex institutions and even more complex procedures. But democracy, our constitutional democracy, needs such detailed set of rules. That's our history. And it's highly relevant that we have people who understand these formal regulations and procedures, and it's important to understand and then perhaps to simplify a little more these regulations and procedures. By participating the Model European Union 2025 event here in Berlin, you will most certainly experience yourselves the roles of negotiations, diplomacy, media coverage, and even lobbyism throughout the course of the next few days. This event offers the ideal opportunities to deepen the understanding of EU institutions and procedures, to live the enthusiasm for international cooperation and intercultural dialogue. I invite you all carry these experiences to make throughout the evening, throughout the event, into your own spaces back, to your universities, to your workplaces, to your communities, to your neighborhoods, to your families, and to your friends. The motto of the European Union is as important as it has never been before. United in diversity, unis dans la diversité, vereint in Vielfalt. I would like to thank you, all invited guests, dear participants, to wish all a successful Model European Union 2025 here in Berlin. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Thorsten Kühne, for your very nice words. And for those who did not know anything about Berlin before, I hope you now know. Remember the things. And now it is my great honor to welcome Your Excellency, Ambassador to Bosnia and Herzegovina and Germany, Damir Arnaut, to the stage. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That was excellent pronunciation of my name. Mr. Matoy, Ms. Bauer, all of the members and participants in the organizing team, congratulations. This is truly, truly impressive. I'm also equally impressed, like my predecessors at this stage here, to see so many young people who have gathered from all over the place here in Berlin to participate in this. So my sincere congratulations. Ambassador, my colleague Ambassador of Chile, members of the Diplomatic Corps, State Secretary Dr. Kern, My best regards to Mayor Wagner, please. Ladies and gentlemen, but in particular, these wonderful young model European Union participants. It is a true honor and pleasure to be with you here today and to speak to you about a little bit about what you will learn a lot more during the next several days as you embark upon this wonderful program. Now, when Embassy of Bosnia-Herzegovina was first approached by Mr. Matoi and his colleagues several months ago, I immediately asked my colleagues at the embassy to provide all of our resources and help to the extent that it's possible to the organizers for really one main reason, and that is the fact that when I was at university at Berkeley in California many years ago that I don't wish to disclose, I was a participant in the Model United Nations program. Not exactly the same, but very similar, and I knew from that early age how important these programs are, how educational they are, and I was honored that I was now in a position to, through my embassy, provide any help and support to this program. And believe me, this was an immensely educational and formative experience. What I learned at the Model United Nations those many years ago in California has helped me at every single stage of my career. It helped me in my academic career at the law school at Berkeley also. It helped me when I was a lawyer in the US State Department, later as a lawyer in private practice, as ambassador of Bosnia-Herzegovina to Australia and New Zealand. It helped me immensely when I was a member of parliament in Bosnia and Herzegovina, elected 3 times, and it obviously is helping me in my role as the ambassador of Bosnia-Herzegovina here to Germany, because I'm talking to you about that experience. As some of the people who spoke before me said, you will learn so much about these procedures. I would even venture to say that after this program, you will be experts of sorts on procedures and rules of the European Union decision-making, political considerations, and so on and so forth. Now, I'm going to touch upon primarily on the role and the experience of the Western Balkans region, which Bosnia-Herzegovina is obviously a part, in the European enlargement process. The European enlargement, as you know, is a process that really started immediately after the European Union was founded, but it received those political connotations. The term EU enlargement received political connotations really following the first wave after the Cold War, when 3 countries joined in 1995. After that, enlargement started to be spoken of in political rather than just simply economic terms. We have had several waves of enlargement. Obviously, I'm not going to be talking about like a history lesson here as to when each of those waves came about. What I'm going to focus on are the political considerations that are at play with respect to the enlargements that still need to happen, that are still ahead of us. And central to that process is the EU enlargement by taking the countries of the Western Balkans. Sometimes, especially in the circles that I spend a lot of my time in Berlin in particular, this region is spoken of as Western Balkans 6, WB6, and so on and so forth. The countries are Northern Macedonia, Montenegro, Albania, Kosovo, Serbia, and my own Bosnia and Herzegovina. All of these countries are countries that aspire to join the European Union, and along with some others in Europe, particularly Ukraine and Moldova, they're candidate countries for EU membership. Now, the things that are particularly important to mention with respect to enlargement is the fact that it is happening parallel to the talks about the European Union reform. This is something that is occupying Brussels and the capitals of the major countries in the European Union in particular. And I do sense that there is less and less appetite for enlargement until EU reform is completed. There are a lot of areas with respect to the EU reform, but one particularly important one as it relates to the enlargement of the European Union is the reform of the decision-making process. Except for some areas, most of the decisions in the European Union are made by consensus. And that functioned seamlessly for the most part for many, many years. But in recent years, it has caused frustration not only in certain capitals, but also among the populace of a number of countries in the European Union, particularly large countries. And this is another really important consideration that you will need to take into account when negotiating and doing all of the other things within the MEU over the next couple of days. In addition to these, I venture to say, bureaucratic considerations which deal with rules and regulations and so on and so forth, as a participant in the MEU, and later as a practitioner in your careers, you always need to take into account political considerations because they really drive the decision-making in a lot of the capitals. So take, for example, Germany. I really don't need to go any further than Germany to bring this example home. Almost every single decision relating to EU enlargement in Germany needs to be approved not only by the government, which is the case in a lot of other EU member countries, but also in Germany, and additionally needs to be approved by the Bundestag. And these are sometimes, to an untrained eye, small decisions, like, for example, whether to grant a country candidacy status, but even less than that, even once the candidacy status has been granted, whether to open negotiations with a particular country, and so on and so forth. Every single of those steps in Germany needs to be approved by the German Bundestag. Now, the German Bundestag, even though it's an institution as a whole, is, in the end, composed of 650 elected members. This is extremely important. I can tell you that as somebody who ran and won in 3 elections. The elected members of any body in a democracy take a pulse of those people who hire them to do the job, and that's the voters. And if the voters are not favorably predisposed to enlargement, this is something that the elected members take into account very strongly when they decide upon these questions. So I really caution you to take into account political considerations when making decisions, when proposing certain solutions. Think how that will reflect on a political level in every particular country, and especially take into account what are the requirements in each of those countries. Now, why is this consensus so important? Well, there's no need for me to express my personal opinion. There are a lot of opinions within the EU, within member countries, that consensus-based decision-making has become cumbersome and unmanageable. There are often vetoes or threats of veto with respect to purely bilateral issues, as my friends from Northern Macedonia, from Croatia, and from a couple of other countries have witnessed time and time again. And there's a strong drive, particularly on the part of the big countries, to do away with this consensus or to introduce qualified majority voting and so on and so forth. Now, if you ask each of the member countries, each of the countries, candidate countries who are aspiring to join the EU, they would immediately tell you, yes, we would absolutely accept to join the European Union without having a veto right. But if you ask the countries who are already members, who have a veto right, to give that veto right up, well, it's not so easy anymore. They have it. Why would they give it up? Especially, if they're small countries where they see that veto right as the only protection of their 1 or 2 or 3 million population from a country as large as Germany, which has almost 100 million people. So this EU reform process is something that needs to be taken into account when it comes to enlargement, because until EU reform is completed, there's little appetite in some of the countries for enlargement, for further enlargement. At the same time, policymakers, citizens of current EU members are absolutely cognizant of the fact that Western Balkans simply cannot remain out of the European Union. If you take a look at the map of Europe, it is immediately easy to see that there's a black hole in the middle of the European Union, which is these 6 countries of the Western Balkans. It just doesn't make sense geographically. It doesn't make sense from a transportation perspective. It doesn't make, it's an absolute nightmare from a transportation perspective. It doesn't make sense from an economic perspective. And if you just look at the cost of it, the 20-some million people of this region would not be a burden upon the European Union whatsoever. What are the benefits of the European Union is very clear to the countries of the Western Balkans. You're all too young to remember, I'm talking about the participants in the MEU program, but you're all too young to remember that 35 years ago, you couldn't drive 500 meters, I think, in this direction without hitting a wall, literally. And now you can drive from Lisbon to Helsinki without showing your ID, without exchanging currency, without getting into roaming, and so on and so forth. These benefits are very clear to the population of the Western Balkans as they drive, for example, from Berlin through Austria, Croatia, Slovenia, or the other routes, Slovakia, Hungary, Czech Republic, and so on. No roaming until they come to the border of the Western Balkans, and all of that changes. All of a sudden, they need to show their passport, they need to switch their SIM card, and so on and so forth. So benefits are absolutely clear, but also the requirements. And this is where this political requirement becomes especially important, because to the voters, to an average voter of the EU country, of an EU country, they don't have a problem with enlargement per se. And if you were to do a poll with the voters in Germany or any other EU country of citizens, would they object to enlargement by letting Norway, Iceland, or Switzerland join? I would say that the vast, vast majority of people would say that they have no objection, and a certain percentage would even be surprised that these 3 countries aren't already members of the EU. Of course, if you ask them about the Western Balkans, the percentage numbers drop. I mean, the research has been done on this. And what's particularly important in this message that I'm sending you with these 2 examples is that essentially reflects the understanding of the voters that there's nothing wrong with enlargement as long as the rules are implemented, as long as the countries join on an equal footing by bringing especially their rule of law department and their economies up to scale with other EU members. So I'm absolutely cognizant of the fact that the brunt of the job is on us, on potential members. Now, but really, what I try to sort of bring home here is the fact that there is this issue of enlargement, that there is the issue of the fact that Western Balkans will become members of the European Union sooner or later, without a doubt, and that there are these considerations on the part of the current EU members that take into account political and these technical requirements before that enlargement is to happen. So the process will take time, but the question here, does it need to be black and white necessarily? Does it need to be you're either a member or you're not? And what I was particularly impressed by was a speech that now I can even officially say, since it's been announced as to when the Bundestag will vote on the matter, the future Chancellor of Germany, Friedrich Merz, he gave a speech to ambassadors in Berlin about a month before the elections. And he was asked a question about his vision of the EU enlargement. And this is what he said, that he precisely said that he doesn't feel that it needs to be black or white. He doesn't feel that it needs to be you're either a member or you're not. That there can be some sort of a transition period. So in other words, integrate the countries, particularly he didn't speak only of the Western Balkans, he mentioned Ukraine and Moldavia and other candidate countries to be sure. I'm focusing on the Western Balkans. He said integrate these countries step by step. Before the full membership, why can they have certain benefits? He didn't go into the details. He, in fact, precisely said that all of the details haven't been developed. But I venture to say that, for example, Schengen, which is an agreement of free movement within the EU space and even beyond the EU space, because Switzerland, for example, is a member of Schengen and so on. Schengen can be easily implemented in the Western Balkans. Again, as you look at the map, you see that the entire Western Balkans is completely surrounded by the Schengen region. So, in order to ease transportation, in order to lessen the travel times and provide so many other benefits, extending Schengen agreement before the full EU membership is absolutely possible. The same is with certain economic issues, with certain, even though we're living in a world where people are talking about increasing tariffs, this is one area where you can completely eliminate tariffs between the Western Balkans and the European Union. This, to be sure, does not negate the Berlin process. It's my obligation to tell you a little bit about the Berlin process as well. I would think that it only complements the Berlin process, and it's particularly appropriate that we're talking about it here in Berlin, is an idea of the former Chancellor of Germany, Angela Merkel, which has existed for more than 10 years now, which essentially aims to extrapolate the rules and procedures of the European Union to the region of the Western Balkans 6, integrating their economies, their transport systems between themselves, between these 6 countries, so that they can then learn from those experiences and use them better as they move on the road towards EU membership. Complementing this process, I'm absolutely certain would be this idea that Mr. Merz articulated so well a couple of months ago, by integrating the countries further into the EU on their road to full membership, rather than having this essentially limbo of waiting for the EU membership and doing those reforms as you go along, rather than integrating their economies and their transport systems and whatnot into the EU integration process. I will be available here later to answer any of your questions, should you have some. But again, thank you so much for the invitation. Thank you for the opportunity to address these impressive young people today, and congratulations again on this initiative. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your important words. We do have also members of the organizing team and participants traveling from the Western Balkan, so they know they took a long way to get here, and we hope in the future things might change. And well, this brings us already to the end of the opening ceremony. We would have had another speaker who, unfortunately, due to his parental commitments, cannot be here, but I still want to mention him because he was actually the first person to whom I talked to about this project. He's also the one who provided us with the ID cards, also with the placards. It's Mr. Christian Greve. So thank you to him as well, even though he cannot be here. And now I would like to take a very, very brief moment to talk to our participants, especially those who are here for the very, very first time. I've been in your shoes exactly 5 years ago. I was very nervous, I was excited at the same time, and I did not know a single person in the room. So if you're feeling a bit overwhelmed, it's okay. Believe me, you're not alone. And if at any point in this week you feel alone, or you just want to talk, or you don't feel comfortable, overwhelmed, come to see me, come to see the organizing team. We're here to make this a very great experience for you. a learning experience, and also to build lifelong friendships. That's the most important thing you will see here. So thank you very much for all being here. And now just a quick update on the agenda. We would now take a group picture all together. Afterwards, our dear participants will go with us to the KAS, to the Konrad Adenauer Foundation, where we'll have lunch, a very well-deserved lunch, and then we will start with a little mock debate to get you into your roles, to the rules of procedure, and just, to kick off the things in a correct way. So thank you very much for all being here, and yes, let's make this a very perfect journey. Thank you very much.